Welcome back to the Big Small Business Show, and we have just had a very interesting pitch by Thando Matime on a product, a chocolate slice product called Tanella. So the whole value proposition is that it doesn't break the bread. So instead of that spread that breaks the bread, now you put the slice that's very nice. I don't know what the case may be, but we heard your advert. I've just given you another advert. I think that was more like a dad joke, right? Right. So first of all, your pitch was actually very good. It was you spoke incredibly well. I understood what you were saying. I think if I had to give you some pointers in how to improve the pitch and give you a high probability of taking this idea to reality, I'd first understand chocolate. Let's start there, right? Okay. You have to understand how chocolate is made, what different types of chocolates are. In other words, there's certain chocolate that, like when you see, that can bend and some snap, right? So what's the difference between the ones that can bend and the ones that snap? Okay, it's produced slightly differently. So if you're ever going to pitch, there's no one that would ever buy your pitch if they ask you technical questions around chocolate and you can't answer them. So the first place you need to go is go understand how chocolate is actually made. And I can help you with that. I can send you to a chocolate factory and you can go work out how chocolate is actually made. So that's number one. Number two, the costs. So you spoke about certain costs. It costs this to make this and it costs that to make that. Like, I don't believe you. I'll smile and I'll say, okay, but if I'm going to invest in your business, I'm not going to just take your word for it. So you have to come back to me and say, when you're talking about based on this, and this, we understand that the cost of chocolate for this amount of grams costs this amount to produce. And this is the average cost that we've used. So you're giving me a number, but you're not substantiating where that number comes from. So once again, you need to know that information. You need to know what chocolate costs per 10 grams, per 100 grams, etc. Then I'm going to ask you, well, how do you package it? Right?
Oh, okay.
And then I'm going to say, okay, you're going to say you're going to do this. And then I'm going to say, well, technically, can that be done? Can you I know you can package cheese that way, but can you package chocolate that way? Will chocolate melt in that process, or will it break in that process? Cheese has got a level of flexibility. If you're going to use chocolate, it might snap in that process. So I'm going to look at the from a packaging perspective. If you're going to cover each slice, or you're going to put them all in boxes, how are you going to do that, right? And then I'm going to ask you the cost of that packaging. Okay. And then I'm going to ask you, okay, wonderful idea. Who's going to produce this for you? Okay. And so you're going to say, I've done research and the following 3 companies are able to produce this for me. But the problem is once you've shared that idea, then they've got the idea. Even here, they have watched this on the idea. So you would have to have a NDA, a non-disclosure agreement or a non-circumvention agreement, some agreement that says this is your intellectual property, your idea, and they are going to manufacture it for you. Okay. So there's a whole bunch of technical stuff that happens before this. So what I'm trying to get across to you is that wonderful idea, very well presented, very well thought through. But when you come to the commercials, when you move to the next level, the reason why ideas die in people's heads and make people go, oh, I thought of that 10 years ago, is because they miss all this other stuff out. Okay. Yeah. So you need to work on this kind of these kinds of knowledge in terms of the production process, the packaging process. And then I'm going to ask you to say, well, what's the value proposition when it goes out? When I put it against a spread, what's the real difference between the two? Okay. Is it that does spread really break bread? Does it really? Maybe it does. Is it really a problem, or are you making up that problem? So if you're going to say that there is a problem, once again, as an investor, I'm going to go, well, I don't believe you. You're just saying that. Prove it to me. So you need to show it to me, demonstrate it to me. Here's the average Nutella, take the knife, here it is. And I'm going to say, how old is that bread? Is it fresh bread? Is it like 2 days old? Is it a month old? How old is that bread? So you're going to have to prove that what you're saying is the problem, because no investor is going to just take your word for it because you said it in a nice way, right? So I want to know what the real problem is. And then you're going to have to think about all the opposition to your product. Chocolate for kids for lunch. Who's going to do that? Like, why would a parent do that? So the kids might want it, but the parents might not. So Nutella might turn around and be saying, well, it's got some nutritional value. Let's say, I don't know what the nutritional value of Nutella is, but let's say it's very high in, well, I can't even think about zinc, right? So you have to know the nutritional values in Nutella, and then you have to say, and our product has more zinc or more iron or more vitamin this or more whatever than that product. Because if you're going to come out, it can't just be that you're just in a different format. You need to at least match the other product in a resistant market. And the resistant market is parents not wanting to give their kids sugar, right? So you're going to have to sell it in a different way, and you're just producing it in a different way. Then there's going to be the convenience of how it fits in. You speak about Nutella at room temperature, but I happen to have Nutella at home, and it's not that hard. At 27 degrees, it's certainly quite liquid. But let's say in winter, it might get tougher. Okay, so what is the convenience? You need to talk about more about and you touched on it, but I want you to think more about the convenience. And you have to find a way to illustrate that convenience. So that very often is time. So are you busy in the morning? Take the jar, unscrew it, you think and you've got a clock, and you go, well, took to make one slice of a sandwich, Nutella sandwich took 43 seconds. In ours, clock starts 15 seconds, done. It's much more convenient. When you've got the rush in the morning, it's much more convenient to use our product. So you're looking for all these differentiators. So that to me is where, if you get those closed, you'll go on a different journey around the product. The product will evolve, it'll become more commercially viable and more likely to find an investor. So Thando, that's it. I hope you got some ideas there.
Yeah.
And that's it for today's segment. Do stay tuned for what's coming up next.